Hey, it's Jim Alexander here with Real Talker, and today is a tough day. I usually don't do videos like this. I was compelled to do it. I wanted to X or tweet or whatever they call it these days. Um, but I had just so much more to say. The man in the background right there is Paul Reubens, one of the also known as Pee Wee Herman, obviously, as you can tell. A true icon that sadly passed away at the age of 70. I have so many thoughts and memories of Paul and as Pee Wee and effect he has had on my life and childhood. And as I'm sure many of you out there could relate, Paul was a unique person. Now, I'd never had a chance to meet him in person. It's really interesting to read all the people that have come across him. Uh, and what they had to say about him. It's pretty consistent. You were getting a birthday message and a holiday greeting from Paul. That just shows what a thoughtful guy he was. But what a loss. Some we lose famous people, entertainers, often, unfortunately, and there's some that just hit you differently and in a special way, and not to minimize the death of anyone or others, but my connection to Paul is unique because he influenced a child, he influenced a kid. So my connection, I'm going to start off with that, is that I was absolutely obsessed with Pee Wee Herman. There's no other. If there was a superhero, a thing I would worship as a kid was Pee Wee Herman. It was an extreme obsession, to the point of me dressing like Paul. I put this picture up for a reason because that was me as like a 5-year-old kid, um, having the suit. I made my parents get me the suit that had there's pictures of this, and I hope to post them at some point and find them. I had the bow tie, I had the suit collar, I had the button up white shirt. I had everything that make me, and I had my hair styled as Pee-wee. I would make my sister, my older sister, and my parents style my hair like Pee-wee. I had the Pee-wee doll that you pull on a string and he'd talk. It was an absolute obsession. I loved Pee-wee Herman, and like anything else, he was it for me. He was, in a sense, a godlike figure in my childhood. I watched the show religiously. It was an obsession as a kid. There's nothing that I wanted to be more than Pee Wee Herman. That is the impact and effect that Paul had. And not only did he have that on me, I'm certain he had that on many kids who grew up as small children in the 80s and early 90s. That's powerful. That's legendary. To have that sort of effect on someone is once in a lifetime. And that's how I think of Paul Reubens, a once in a lifetime performer. He went against the grain. He lived the gimmick. And it seems like Paul is a wrestling fan or might have been a wrestling fan. There's a lot of wrestlers speaking out um, and sharing their memories about Paul and his involvement in WrestleMania and various other, being at Monday Night Raw, and wrestling friends that he has. It seemed that he might have been a big wrestling fan too, which would be even more fitting since I'm a huge wrestling fan myself. And that was my other kind of love as a kid. As I grew older, it's just tough to lose someone like that, and it's shocking because it came out of left field. Paul was very private. It seems like you didn't see him in the limelight much at all. He stayed out of, even though he could have been, if he wanted to, on shows and all sorts of things, right? Because he is one of one. He's an icon. So, but he chose not to. He took quirky, weird roles and supporting roles, and even cameo roles in films and shows. he could have been such a bigger star on film if he wanted to be. And I think it was all up to Paul, because his comedic genius is one of a kind. For someone to live a gimmick that he did most of his life in public as Pee Wee Herman, that's tough. That's a lot of work that it takes to be that character, live that character. And he did. He did, to put smile on people's faces and entertain. You talk about natural born entertainers. I can only imagine that that's what Paul's service in life was. And the social media post said it. Boy, how humble of a goodbye to do it social media or release it the day after your death. It's unique. It's so Paul in a way, thanking the people who have loved him and supported him, and showing his gratitude for them. I'm kind of tearing up because it's emotional. This kind of, legend leaving and person of influence. And yeah, there's people who are, there's always people online who want to throw dirt in situations, especially this is not the time. Yeah, Paul had some issues, right? There was an arrest for the theater incident and whatnot, and there's some other stuff that seems like he was discharged from, right? Allegations that didn't stick, from what I've heard. But this is not the time and place. This man's done a lot of good for people, and the reactions, the outpouring of a lot of people who known him shares the same thing, same message: the kindness, the thoughtfulness, just the humbleness. And he was who he presented himself to be. He was that nice. He was that kind. That's tough in today's world. In today's world, especially when it comes to celebrity, where people just they have a tough time being themselves. They're projecting images of something you want them to be, but not. Paul Reubens was himself, day one till day last. And that's admirable. That's admirable. And I'm glad people are noticing the comedic genius that he was. I mean, to turn a character into what he did, into movies, TV shows, it just doesn't happen, right? From Broadway stage to the levels that he brought Pee Wee to a phenomenon. You can't talk about the 80s without mentioning Pee Wee Herman. I mean, it is as big as Sesame Street and some of these other, maybe didn't have the longevity that Sesame Street and maybe in essence Barney does. But when it comes to children programming, Paul Reubens is on a Mount Rushmore. He really is. And you have to put him up there with Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Barney probably. That's the Mount Rushmore. And Paul Reubens undoubtedly is on it, of children programming, of icons. He was an icon. For those of you that didn't grow up with him or don't know much about Paul, he was a genius. He was a guy that came up through groundlings and improv. And boy, Phil Hartman helped him harvest this character, and he created gold with it. An absolute genius to create the world. And the thing I'll say about Paul is that he was a man-child, but in the best terms of way. He had that childlike spirit and essence about him that never escaped. And as kids, we always, once we grow up, we lose it. 95% of us lose that childlike sensibility and happiness and joy and not caring, not in a bad way, not caring, but not caring what people think about you. The zaniness, right? The wackiness. He made people feel okay being weird, being an outsider, being odd, zany, wacky. That's who Paul represented. He spoke to these people. He spoke to the people that didn't fit in because he was just a grown child that lived his way with joy and happiness and that spirit. And that's commendable because that's tough to do, because we grow up, we begin to have insecurities and feel shame and all sorts of things. And Paul was uniquely himself throughout his life. And there's something to be said for that. He's a legend. He's an icon. There will never be another Paul Reubens. They say that there will never be ... whoever, fill in the blank. There truly will not be a Paul Reubens. He is one in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime, you see something like that. And that's icon. That's legendary status. You can't replicate something like that. Something that Pee Wee Herman was, something that Paul Reubens is. It just takes skill set, a genius, and a commitment, and a lifetime commitment that he had for this character. It's fitting that Paul Reubens looked ageless. Whenever you see pictures with him, he could pull off the Pee Wee, put on the makeup, the hair, and whether he was in his 50s, 60s, he still looked like he was in his 20s. It's amazing that he was sort of ageless, and he always was able to present himself that way. And Pee Wee ageless, it was just unbelievable. And that kind of speaks to the youthful spirit that he had. He looked youthful. He had a youthful spirit. He's a once in a lifetime soul. He's a once in a lifetime sort of person too, not only a character or individual, or comedic genius. The world lost a true artist. And it seems like I said, I don't know Paul, but from what I've heard and being a fan, and yeah, I'm biased, and so what? I will be, because he shaped my childhood. This was one of my legends, my heroes as a child. And as a child, it shapes you usually who you become. And I feel like I am a big part of who I am because of Pee Wee, because I do have that passion and joyfulness for life. And I feel like that probably was due to watching Pee Wee and the joy he had, the curiosity. I feel like I sort of personally took over these qualities that made Pee Wee unique. I have a craving for curiosity in life. I have this passion and about what I do, and I feel it was shaped to me as a kid watching Pee Wee, because you are what you're around or you're impacted by. And I feel at a young age, his Paul and this character Pee Wee really shaped me and impacted me. I wanted to be Pee Wee more than anyone. And I've met a lot of celebrities and talked to him, but I will never have an opportunity to talk to Paul. And that would be probably one of, they say, who would you want to have lunch with or dinner with in a history? He would be right up there for sure in my top 5, because of what he meant to me and what an icon he is. And, in Paul's nature, he kept 6 years of battling cancer and going through struggles. Some of his close friends didn't even know about it. Just really probably the closest in his inner circle. And it just shows the humility, the selflessness. This man didn't seek attention. And you can, like I said, he could have been a mega star, and still continued his career. He was a talented actor. Watch him in Blow. Watch him in some of the cameos he's done on TV shows and Buffy, and just the man could do it all, really. He wasn't only Pee Wee. I mean, you see him do that turn in Blow, and just like, who is this actor? It's Paul Reubens. Supremely talented individual. Like I said, a genius of his craft, and once in a lifetime sort of individual. And it's a big loss. And people are hurting today, and people are also smiling and thinking about their childhood and the fact that Pee-wee's Playhouse, Pee-wee's Big Adventures, the films, and it's so cool that he did that Christmas special a few years back. It's sort of his goodbye, because he didn't do anything after that. And it was probably right when Paul was starting to struggle with his health. But what a memory to leave behind, He wanted to fly. Well, Pee-wee's flying now, among the all-time greats, up in heaven, because the joyful spirit's what carries on. The memory won't die out. Can always go back and watch the films and the show and remember you as a child. And that's Paul Reubens. For many, had that impact. And people are hurting today, and understandably so, because their childhood, part of their childhood was ripped away and taken away, and it will never be back, because the man who created it and inspired it is gone. But his memory will last. And it's a good time to reflect on your own personal childhood and how Paul and Pee-wee impacted it, but also share the smiles and laughs. That's what I'm sure he would have wanted. He even said in a statement that he was privileged to create the art that he did and make people happy. And he did. And yeah, as you can see, these are real emotions. And that just shows someone that you've never met impacted you. That's powerful. To feel something for someone as if you known them, as if they were close to you, that's powerful. That's what Pee-wee created. That's what Paul created. And that's what we can hold on to. Paul Reubens, gone too soon, 70 years old, struggling, not many knew. Wish that was kind of revealed so people could show him their appreciation and love that they had for him, not in postmortem. Now that he's gone, the outpouring. I wish that he knew more, or had people were able to voice that appreciation to him, because he molded and shaped young people, in the sense that what he did with his shows and characters, and to me, he will always be an icon, one of the most influential characters or things I've seen on screen outside of people I know, and in my daily life. But that's a lasting legacy. And what a great shot here I have behind me, Paul sort of looking in the mirror, checking out the Pee-wee looked always great, always on point. And that reflection is a reflection we're sharing today about Paul and ourselves, and how he, like they say, life is about, the moments that make you feel. And that's what you remember about someone, how they make you feel, not what they did, or sort of, what you did with them, or whatnot, or it's how did they make you feel. These tears are real. And it's a clear sign of how Pee-wee and Paul Reubens made me feel, and many others out there. It's powerful. And if that was his mission in life, mission accomplished. He created happiness, joy, entertainment, laughter, and memories. And that's, not many can ever say that in history, right? That they did that to people they have never met, and countless around not only this country, but around the world. And I was lucky to grow up when I grew up, to have Pee-wee come at the same time, as I was a kid, young kid, and influence me. I consider myself fortunate to grow up in that era and that time, where shows like that, and see the genius that I didn't understand at the time, but now as an adult, I do. Paul Reubens, 70 years old, like I said, gone way too soon, but leaving a legacy behind that will never be forgotten. It's kind of like him, ageless, and it will be there forever. Even those that never heard of him or never know, will know someone who was part of the Pee Wee world, Pee Wee's Fun House, Playhouse. It was all that fun, playful. That's what Paul Reubens stood for. Very sad. Unfortunate. Hopefully he didn't suffer that long. Hopefully he had comfort for those closest to him that were there for him. Definitely couldn't have said that in a tweet. I needed to do this on camera. And if you're watching that, if you feel similar, you're not the only one. There's many of us out there feeling that. And it's good. It's good to feel things. It's good to have emotions. And it's good to be moved by something. And it makes you feel real. It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel like it's in there. Even if you have trouble crying or showing emotions, if you're letting out a cry, it's a cry of sadness and joy also at the same time. And this man made an impact. I did this video. I usually don't do, I do reviews and interviews, but I needed to do this. It's kind of cathartic. And for those watching it out there, I hope you took away something from it too, or at least understand that, you know, we're feeling the same thing. And thanks for watching. Paul will never be forgotten. Please, I always say, please subscribe if you like this. It gives me more incentive to put up videos like this and, share my feelings and emotions and thoughts. So please support the channel by subscribing. I don't want it to be about subscriptions. I just want it to be about this. If you like this, put a thumbs up, click that like button. But most importantly, what I want from this is comments. I want to know what you thought of Paul, Pee Wee, how he shaped you, whether you knew about him or just discovering him for the first time. And I envy those who get to discover him for the first time, because you're in for a lot of fun and wackiness and zany stuff. And hopefully it flares up and burns that childhood spirit in you. Please discover him. Please take a look, research about him. Yeah, you're going to find some stuff that's not so pleasant, but who are we to judge? There's no one in life that's perfect, right? We make mistakes, and Paul's owned up to his. And that's what made him human too. That's what makes all of us. So those that are railing on him or calling out, these things, it's not the time. You made mistakes too. You've done bad things too. But let's appreciate and shine light on the happiness that he brought to many, and how he's changed many lives too. I'd imagine people watching Pee Wee felt more normal about who they were, even if they didn't seem like that to the outside world. So leave your comments, thoughts. I want to hear them. I want to know what you think about this. And if you share similar sentiment to me, also leave it up there, because I know many are having thoughts and feelings today and going forward, for next days too. It's tough to process. A lot are gutted, but being able to talk and share amongst each other and amongst others and share your thoughts, that's important. And it's always a good memory that someone has, right? That will reflect on others too. A sad video, an unfortunate video, a great, great mind. Seems like a great person too. Thoughtful person. Maybe if we can take away a little bit of Pee Wee into our own lives, our lives will be better. And pass it along too, be that thoughtful, send that happy birthday to someone. Might change their day, might change their week, might change their year or life. And Paul did that. He put out to everyone the effort it takes to even do that, to remember, to be conscientious and thoughtful like that. That's pretty cool. And to be able to do that, we're capable of it, but will we put in the time and effort? Paul did. Maybe that's a good message to pass along there too. Be kind, be thoughtful, and as simple as it is, send that email or text or call. Just say hi to someone, right? Or talk about Pee Wee. that's it for now. I'll be back with other stuff. Hopefully, I don't want to be doing discussions about talking about icons, but if it's needed, it's needed. And this was needed. So until next time, I'm Jim Alexander with Real Talker. Paul Reubens, rest in peace, gone too soon, never to be forgotten. Thanks.